And I'm here with Mark Quick from Ninth Impact Games. Mark, thanks for joining us here.
You're more than welcome.
First of all, tell us a little bit of an outline of what you do.
Yeah, so our company is Ninth Impact. We're based in Galway and we develop games for mobile phones and tablets, both Apple devices and Android.
Now, you might be able to see there's some people using some of the gaming stuff behind us here as well, and I know you've been showing it off, but something very, very interesting this morning. We've got the VR headsets out here. You've developed a new VR game. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, so our new VR game is based on the Biker Mice from Mars TV series. So we have one app in the Google Play Store and the App Store already that's a Biker Mice from Mars game. And so the next one that we're releasing next month will be a virtual reality version of the game. So you put on the headset and it feels like you're riding on the bike through the streets of Chicago.
Brilliant, fantastic. And dare I ask how long that took to develop and make sure that it was good to use?
The original game was about a year in development before we released it, and then the virtual experience app, because we had a lot of the models and all the animations built, was actually a lot quicker. It took us about 2 months to go from a normal app into virtual reality.
Tell us a little bit about the indie gaming industry as well. How difficult is it actually to be an indie gamer?
This is a really tough industry to make it big in. You know, we all see Rovio and Supercell and big guys who have made it huge, but much like the music industry, you know, there's a couple of global superstars and then there's a lot of young, hopeful musicians who are playing small venues every night of the week. So similarly, there's a lot of indie game developers doing it at evenings, weekends. Nobody's heard of them, nobody's ever played their games, and that's the vast majority of developers. And then a couple of big companies make it really big.
Is the goal then for a company like you and lots of other indie games is to have a slice of that very, very lucrative pie that's out there? We're talking like tens of billions of euros spent on, you know, buying games and things like that every year by people. So I mean, is that the goal ultimately, to get a slice somewhere along the way of that pie?
Yeah, so we approach it, it's very much a business for us because we've 7 people in the company up in Galway. So it's full-time employment for these people. They're game developers as their job. And so the approach that we take is we develop quite a lot of games in different genres for different audience, and we keep releasing games. So we're not dependent on one of our games being a smash hit. But of course, we're very much open to one of our games being a smash hit.
And is that the difference between you and in the other room? Of course, you've got EA Games set up inside here. So is it that the difference between indie games, that you always have to have something in the pipeline, something to move on to next, whereas somewhere like EA Games can spend lots of time and lots of money developing one big product because they know they can put everything behind it and make, you know, billions from one product.
Yeah. So I mean, EA Games have huge budgets, as they say, and just have so many people in, you know, the top talent in design, in graphic design, in modeling, in every aspect, and so they can build huge teams to work on a game for long periods. So obviously, an indie game company, a small company, we need to release stuff faster. We've a lot less people. So we might have 3 or 4 people working on one of our games versus maybe a team of 2,000, you know. So it's trying to compete with them. So if we do smaller games, you know, we can try and compete on quality, you know, because our quality, people expect the quality of EA games. They don't make allowances when people are playing games. They don't differentiate between this one had 2,000 people and this one had 3 people and allow for that. So you kind of have to match their quality, and the only way you can match their quality is the games tend not to be as big in scope. So they tend to be smaller, and you have to find some way to make them really, really fun. So you're concentrating more and more on the fun of giving somebody really fun gameplay for a shorter amount of time.
And what about the industry itself as a whole in Ireland? It's the gaming industry and game development is something that seems to have really exploded in Ireland over the past couple of years, particularly individual indie gaming companies and stuff like that, like yourself, Ninth Impact. What's behind that, and why all of a sudden is there this drive now, particularly in Ireland, for these games?
Well, I think there's the tools have become more accessible, and I suppose there's just it's become a slightly more mature industry. Remember, we're only 10 years into having iPhones around, so it's quite new, So over the past 10 years, the tools have gotten a lot more accessible, and people have collaborated on games. So you've got artists coming together with developers, meeting up and developing games. So I think that's really created, a wide number of people working in games. But we still haven't produced big game companies out of Ireland that are, full-time game developers, companies. So there's some now starting down that road, but homegrown development companies are really what we need, and we need those growing bigger and, getting international scale.
Are we ever going, not necessarily from an Irish point of view, but in a general sense, are we ever going to see a company start off as an indie game company and then 10, 20 years later there'll be EA, Ubisoft, those kind of big players in the market? Is that possible anymore because you have these huge gaming kind of companies as well with swathes of money? Is that possible anymore to have that kind of growth?
It's still possible, but it's a long shot, being realistic about it. And companies who start to do well often get acquired by, Ubisoft or somebody else in the industry. So you also need the original developers to say no to those offers and continue to grow it at scale.
And that's a very brave person that would do so, to turn around and say no to a company like that.
It is, and it happens in other software products as well, is that Irish companies get to a certain medium scale and get acquired by larger players in the industry. So it's something that's possible, Finland have definitely done it. Supercell and Rovio in Helsinki have become giant companies, and the more as a result of that, Helsinki has a great ecosystem of smaller games companies because they learn from these guys, they see it's possible, and they want to go do it.
I suppose get inspired as well, saying if they've done it, maybe I can do it too.
Yeah, and they operate as great training hubs. So you've got a huge amount of people that have spent time in those companies and come out and started. And so there's a favourable environment to do this as well, So something we'd like to see in Ireland is a more favourable environment for games companies. So if you're trying to make a TV series, film, something creative, you have a lot more favourable tax treatment than somebody who's trying to create a game. Even though we would argue that it's very much the same creative process. Because we think about the games, what's the storyline, we write the storyline, we do all of the
what it
graphics,
needs to look like,
we do all of the graphics, we build it from scratch, we code it, and then we release it, we publish it, and we have to market it very much like a book or a TV show or a short film.
What about Ninth Impact Games yourselves? What does the future hold for you?
So this month we're releasing, towards the end of the month, a new strategy game called Star Commander, and it's more like a board game in an app, so it requires a lot of thinking, not as casual as some of our runner games. Then we're releasing Biker Mice virtual reality experience on iPhone and Android. And then over the course of this year, we've 8 further games in development. So by the end of the year, we'll have 11 games on the market, both iOS and Android. So we'd like to increase employment by another 2. certainly this year.
What's your model in that, by the way? Is it just advertising, or is it actually people buy the game and that's where you make money?
So the games are always free to download. All of our games are free to download, and then within the game there's opportunities for people to buy things. So for example, in our Biker Mice from Mars game, the bikers all have lasers attached. If you want a better laser than the standard laser, you can use some of your coins to get a better laser.
Yeah.
So you can earn those coins by playing more of the game and collecting the coins, or you can buy them for real money. So a certain percentage of our users would buy things in the game. And then we also have advertising, which is about maybe 40% of our revenue.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about Ninth Impact Games, see what you do, buy your products, of course, more importantly.
Yeah.
Where can I do that?
So you can go to ninethimpact.com. That's 9, the digit 9, thimpact.com. Or you can just go to the Google Play Store or the App Store, type in Ninth Impact or Biker Mice from Mars, and you'll see all of our games, and people can play them and then rate them.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks very much appreciated, and it was great to talk to you, and I hope you have a great day. This has probably been one of the busiest stands, by the way. I know there's not people here now, but it was really busy. Everybody wanted to try that VR game as well, so it looks like it could be pretty popular. But thanks very much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Pleasure.